Welcome back to the All Things NBA from A to Z podcast, presented as always by ballislife.com. I'm Kris Pursiainen here alongside Albert Nguyen to discuss the next tier, the next group, the next level of teams in our 26 NBA season preview. Al, how you doing? I know you're doing well.
Doing great, man. I'm doing great.
You just came back from a trip, so
and
you're doing great.
I love this. I love recording the show. Too bad our third co-host couldn't make it tonight, Zach, but we'll hold it down for him tonight, and he'll be back soon. But the NBA is just around the corner, so we're getting into NBA content all day, every day, very soon. So thank you everybody for tuning in and listening in.
Yeah, man, almost at 500 subscribers on YouTube of the pod. So this is a good time to mention, because I never do this besides at the end of videos, that if you're watching but you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. You don't have to watch every video, but it just means you won't miss one. So that's important with the 2026 NBA season right around the corner, like we were saying. Al, as always, I feel like, as is on brand for this show, we are going to amend our list from part one, where we talked about the teams that should tank or sell in the 2026 NBA season. We're going to amend it because we think it's relevant for this episode. It's quick amendments. The Miami Heat are a team that we feel we should have included in that group after looking at the cap landscape of the NBA and of the Heat themselves. After looking at, we like Tyler Hero, we like Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, solid player, right? They have good pieces. They have intriguing pieces like Nikola Jovic, Jaime Jaquez Jr. But I don't know, even in the East this year, or this is kind of the point, right? Is given the East this year, are they almost harmfully good? Like, they're not good enough to make serious noise against Cleveland or New York, in my opinion. So because of that, should we go into this analytics heavy all or nothing approach, where if you're not going to go all the way or close to it, but you might get the 6th seed in a super weak Eastern Conference as a bad team under 500? Remember those days where half the Eastern Conference playoffs was under 500 teams?
Yeah, that's half of Jordan's career.
Should they just tank? should the Heat just tank? So I think, like, sorry, Zach, cover your ears, because I know you're listening, bud. If Norman Powell has a really hot first 2 months of the season, and a team like, say, I don't know, maybe the Clippers, I don't ignore the cap, it's not real, calls and is like, hey, we're interested, go ahead, get what you can. Because I think the Heat are best set up if they retool a little bit.
I mean, if you look at the core of the Heat, right, you have some good players with Bam and Tyler Hero, but I think they're not good enough. I know they're not good enough to lead a team to the championship, and that's not anything against them. Like, being a good second-tier player in this league, you're going to make $500 million pretty much, right? So if they can continue their career, that's great. I think Miami, the brass there, they're going to try to create a narrative where, the East is weaker this year, right? Boston's gone. Indiana's gone. Dame in Milwaukee obviously is not even there anymore, but he's out of the conference altogether. They're going to create this false hope for the fan base and do something that you and I both disagree with. I think being in the wheel of mediocrity and being a 500 basketball team is the worst position you want to be in this league. If they were to tank, if you will, or sell and get draft capital, get towards the bottom of the draft.
They don't need to trade Bam and Hero and go full tank, but like, if guys pop,
but if they keep them, Kris, they're going to be too good.
Right? This is where the Thunder did this really, I guess, well, is the gross way to put it, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is where you tweaked your ankle, I think you need 3 weeks to recover thing comes in. So, I don't think it's out of the question for them to hold on to their 2 best players and lose 58 games or whatever would get them close enough to the bottom to have a 6th to 8th overall draft pick in the next year's draft. But the other team we wanted to address, and it'll basically kick off this segment, this portion of the series, part 2 out of 3, where we talk about every NBA team going into this season and what their goal should be throughout the season. The Indiana Pacers are the place to start. We were just talking about the Eastern Conference. We were just talking about the perception that it is much weaker this year because of the talent migration to the West, and also, most importantly, the injuries to star players,
Yep.
Tyrese Haliburton and Jason Tatum. I think the Indiana Pacers are a team that really, truly should hold. They should hold, see what they have in their young players. This is not the time to sell low on any of them or to flip any of them. I think this is the time to let Ben Mathurin have the best year of his career. If you want to be cold and flip him after the season as part of a bigger deal because you think you can really level up and catch up with the rest of the league with Halliburton back, okay, that's a conversation in a full calendar year. But right now, hold on to your promising young players. You got Nemhard, who's primed for a big year. Jarris Walker is set up for a bigger role, especially with Miles Turner gone. You have guys like Jarris Walker able to fill more minutes with the first unit. Obviously, it's already an inherently suboptimal first unit without Tyrese Haliburton, but make the most of it. So I think the Pacers should hold, not tank, but just let their guys do what they're going to do, right? Because this is not a situation where, oh, if they got the 11th pick, it would change their lives. Like, all right, the Kawhis and the Giannis's of the drafts happen once a decade for a reason.
Just like any team that makes a championship type run, like a lot of the role players and a lot of the young players have to step up, right? Tyrese Halliburton is a good player, don't get me wrong, but there were so many instances throughout that playoffs where, it was other guys stepping up to get the Pacers into those positions. And then Halliburton was able to close. He was able to close out teams very well in that playoff postseason run. The other big picture is Rick Carlisle is 65 years old. He's not in I think, state of mind right now to quote unquote have a gap year, quote unquote rebuild, quote
No,
unquote
hell no.
resettle. Yeah, so I
If he
think
was 55, they wouldn't do a gap
yeah, I
year
think
because
he's
it's Rick
he's gonna
Carlisle.
continue he's gonna continue to run his really awesome offensive system, and it's been that way since his Dallas days. And then like just plug and play, right? There's no Tyrese Haliburton, but they'll bring in other guys, and they're still gonna be a good team. I'm not too worried about the Pacers. I definitely agree with you that they should not sell, and if they play well up to the deadline, they might be buyers, right? They might make another run
It could
and
be
then
the
have
time.
Haliburton. Yeah, and then Halliburton comes back next year, and they're even a better team. So I think they're in a great spot, even though they've lost, their star player because of
Yeah.
injury.
And if they deal with more injuries at the guard position, which no one wants on any team, but is bound to happen over the course of 82 games, unless you're really fortunate, and everyone involved would be really fortunate if there were no injuries. But they've got two-way players I like too, like Talon Peter from Liberty University. They signed to a two-way deal this summer. Their GM, or no, the owner of the team was praising him on the timeline on Twitter. Someone was like, Talon Peters got to get this two-way spot. And the team owner, or no, it was the GM. It was Pritchard, quote tweeted the tweet, and he was like, I agree. Hello? Like that, like what GM does that? Like Talon Peter, really impressive at Summer League, dog, right? So I think he has a little Nemhard to him. He actually might have some Ryan Nemhard to him more than Andrew, because Ryan was great for Dallas at Summer League too, but they kind of remind me of each other in a little bit. Aggressive, feisty guards, that Ish Smith style of push and play and dish and swish. And, anyway, Pacers, have a fun year. God bless. Do the best you're going to do because don't care about the draft pick, right? You got still a good team. So play like it, act like it. And this leads us into another team that wears yellow on their jerseys that I think is a really interesting roster because of the coexistence of LeBron James and Luka Doncic. The Los Angeles Lakers, Al, I kind of want to just let you rip on them, but I do want to angle you a little bit, right? Should this team is it best ignore politics, ignore the power of clutch sports and LeBron James in the NBA, the earned, the deserved, the more than deserved power that they have across the NBA landscape with the representation that Clutch does, so many significant, great NBA players. Like, pretend that these relationships didn't exist, okay? Is it the best basketball move for the Lakers to trade LeBron James sooner than later?
Yes, for sure. But politics runs this league, right?
The
Sometimes it's not
world.
the best basketball decision. He's also an icon in terms of the business aspect, right? Like he brings in so much revenue for this team. Honestly, this team is, if they had retained Dorian Finney-Smith and then also made all the moves that they made with Aiton and all that,
The
and bringing back
DFS loss
LeBron,
is so bad. This
yeah.
is like the most underrated, the most under-discussed departure in free agency in the NBA right now is Dorian Finney-Smith leaving the Lakers in free agency and them getting nothing in return. Now, he's going to be good with the Rockets. They've got a scary group of wings. Uh, you know, Eason, Smith Jr., Finney Smith, like they're a solid
Amen, like
they're a
that team
solid
is,
team,
yeah,
right?
that's
He's I don't know what to call. He's like a guard wing. He's like a big guard. He's a but the Lakers losing DFS. This was the worst case scenario when they traded for him.
But if you think about it, if they had retained him and then brought in Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton, obviously LeBron, and then skinny Luca back, that's actually a really really good offseason for them. But them losing DFS is definitely, um, I wouldn't say it's gonna take them out of like playoff range because I still think they're gonna make the postseason just because Luka
Right.
is that good, especially if he plays 65 to 70
And
games, right?
LeBron is still a top 10-ish player.
15, yeah, 15. I'll give him top 15.
Going into next season,
Yeah,
absolutely, he is a top 15
yeah,
player.
top 15.
Yeah.
And I'm a LeBron a guy for those who don't know. But yeah, I think they can't from a political standpoint sell their fan base that they're 1 year away from being 1 year away. I think the way that they're gonna have to create this narrative and create the marketing around it is they're gonna be buyers, and whether that's true or not, it's worked for the Cowboys the last 20, 30 years. Like everybody that's been part of this fan base has always believed that the Cowboys are quote unquote going for it. Jerry Jones is gonna spend money, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not the case. That's not reality. It's a marketing ploy against the fans. And I think the Lakers have the opportunity to do the same with their fan base.
I I hear you. I cannot get over the of course the storyline, but most importantly the basketball logic because that's really what it always comes down to behind the Cleveland Cavaliers feeling like in an Eastern Conference that is weaker than it's been recently, they should be doing better, they should be having a better season and deciding that the veteran leadership of LeBron James could actually be what galvanizes the team, the fan base, and puts them over the top. Again, now that he opted in, this is much more difficult from a salary perspective,
Mhm.
right? It goes from conversations of Allen and Hunter to Garland and Allen, right? Like just to make the numbers work, I'm throwing names out there. Like uh it's much harder now, but I can't get over that. The other one, and this is not happening, right? But the other one I can't get over for some silly reason, and I think Wemby wants no part of this, if I had to guess, but would be like some three-team deal where the Spurs move like Keldon and Vassell or something like that, and LeBron goes there. I think LeBron would like that, and I don't know that Wemby would, to be honest. I think the Spurs probably wouldn't want that either, so I don't see it happening. But that's the other team that I always think of too, like just WWE as hell.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard for me to picture that ever happening, but that would be kind of from a marketing like Nike shoe contract perspective, that would be the perfect passing of the torch. Because Wemby is, although Luca is a Nike athlete, Lucas is Jordan Brand, and that doesn't really help out LeBron. Whereas They get Wemby and they build out his branding. I'm just thinking from a business perspective, but you're right. I don't think neither party is going to want that. LeBron's not going to move to San Antonio.
Cleveland? What about Cleveland?
Cleveland is kind of the storybook ending for a career like that, but
That's why,
it's a little too cheesy, right? It's a little too cheesy.
too on the nose.
We need it. If that were to happen, we needed Durant back in OKC this year, and then LeBron back in Cleveland. That would have been cool.
You know what? And I hope this doesn't happen, because it would be such a nasty end to his career, and it would be a waste of time for this team. But we were talking about the Heat not really being in a great spot, and maybe they want to shake things up, but I just can't see it, especially after how things ended with Jimito. I can't see them looking to get in that business, but it's just fun to think about, man. It's also time for us to pivot to the other conference. I'm gonna go from warm, beautiful weather in LA to warm, beautiful weather in Florida. But we already talked about the Miami Heat. I want to talk about a team that made a big splash this offseason, and kind of like the Mikal Bridges trade for a lot of reasons. Less of a big splash because of the name himself, and more of a big splash because of the surprise, the size of the compensation. Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic is how I want to intro this team, because it's the only thing we're all thinking about, is just how much better is he going to make them? And so that's the question I leave you with, Al. How much better is Desmond Bane going to leave the Orlando Magic? Because I've got them and you've got them here in this buy category.
I think they definitely overpaid for Desmond Bane, but he's exactly the player that they need. And I'll say this, like, as a NBA owner, an NBA GM, when you're making deals and you're going through your, profit and loss and everything, right, when it comes to the business aspect of it, from a talent standpoint, there's going to be times where you have to overpay. You can't just get the best deal every single transaction. And so I think Orlando was in that situation where they've built it to this point with Paolo and Franz, and they're getting, they're getting players that can help them from a very, very small perspective, and they needed a splash, and so they overpaid for this guy. Desmond Bane is still young. He's going to be healthy. He's very durable. He spreads the floor for them. And there were moments, even when Ja was playing, where Desmond Bane was leading that team, right? So I think it was a good move. I don't know how great they're going to be. When you add a piece like Desmond Bane, you expect him to not only be as good as he was in Memphis, but maybe even elevate his play now with Paolo and Franz next to him. So I'd say Orlando's obviously better. We just don't know how good. So for me, it's actually hard for me to make an assessment on this team, whether it's buying and selling. This is kind of a cop-out, Kris, but I think it's more of a wait and see. I want to see the first 15 to 20 games of Orlando. And if they start out, I don't know, 14-6, Kris, then we're going to be buyers. We're going to be very aggressive buyers moving forward.
Especially, not to bang the drum again, but with what we were talking about with the Eastern Conference, I feel like it's just, they're going to have a strong record no matter what. So maybe trading draft picks, not the end of the world. I do think it's weird, the order they chose to do things in. Like, it feels like they have so many other little pieces to fill out on their squad. But then you look at their depth, and I guess you kind of get it, right? Like, okay, they're deep at center technically with Wagner and Bitadze and Carter Jr. between the three of them. Carter Jr., if he misses some games, you've got the other two guys. Okay, at wing, they've got Franz, and we know they just drafted Tristan da Silva. They've got Paolo at the forward spot. Jet Howard, Anthony Black, if one of those two, like if particularly Black, if he can become a rotation contributor, not just a piece of rotation plus a contributor, I think that would be really big for them. But I'd still feel like they could use another guard. They could use another piece.
They are getting Suggs back, right? Suggs and Bane is actually really good, to be honest. I mean, at that point, you're kind of being choosy, right? In terms of how they can construct this team even better. Like, don't forget, this is the Orlando Magic, right? It's hard for them to be a destination or a big player, but they have depth everywhere. Obviously, it's not like high end Kevin Durant, type of depth, but at the same time, like this is really good. They're going to be a hard team to play and like compete for 48 minutes every single night. So I think that's exactly the team that they wanted, and the players that they're have at leaders in terms of Paolo and Franz. They're the same type of like player. They're like hard grinding, hard working. So I don't know. I like this team. They're to me, we might be, talking about the Magic too much, but to me, I think they have a higher ceiling than Memphis had when they made it to the conference finals.
Interesting, man. I can't help but just be like, I can't, it's so narrow-minded of me, but I really do feel like they need a guard with 3-point volume.
Mm.
And Desmond Bane is 100% that guy. But I mean another one. I mean,
Yeah.
like, Tyus Jones is
Plus,
not the
plus, there's no guarantee that Bane is going to play up to his standards. Like, we all thought KCP was going to be a really good move for them. Obviously, not as like a leading scorer for the team, but to stretch the floor and hit
as
threes. And
a piece with
yeah, he was what,
Franz
like
and Paolo.
he was like 1 for a million in that playoff contest or in that series, right? And
So it was tough with KCP. I think they realized they needed someone that could also put the ball on the floor to be enough of a threat out there, considering that they play Wendell Carter Jr. so many minutes with Franz and Paolo. You got what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
they realized they needed more. I think they seem to think that Bane is enough, more enough, that Bane is enough. I think if they can go out and add one more guy that and Jonathan Isaac is like friend of the pod is a good piece too. Like, they have good players, they have good pieces.
I'm
I
a
just
I'm
I
a
can't.
big fan of Isaac, and not only because he, joined our podcast, Chris, but I don't think the fit is there in Orlando. So like as an Isaac fan, I kind of want him to go to a different team, and maybe that's where Orlando can get their guard depth, right? Is through Jonathan Isaac.
That restructured deal, Norm Powell, interstate trade. Heat try and maximize Isaac, and they play him with Ware and Adebayo, and the Magic get Powell. So then they have Suggs and Bane, but either one could play with Powell, and he brings more scoring to the table. We got to put an earmark in this. Isaac for Norm Powell. This is, I think, worth some discussion. JI for that would be the ultimate all things NBA trade.
That'd be so funny.
That would be so funny. All right, let's go back out west, man. I'm going to take us all over the map today. It's an easy team to talk about. The Minnesota Timberwolves. They have some really, really good basketball players. I can sit here and list them. Instead, I will ask you, why are they not contenders? Or do you think they are?
Chris, before we even get to the T-Wolves, thoughts out to Naz Reid and his family. I just read about his news. He lost his sister. Very, very bad, I think, shooting over
Absolutely.
the weekend.
No,
So,
terrible. And he's
yeah,
spoken about
thoughts,
her a
thoughts and
lot as
prayers out
being
to
like,
him and his family, and the mourning there. That's super, super tough. I would say, from a Minnesota T-Wolves perspective, quietly, they've made it to the conference finals back-to-back years. And Anthony Edwards, for all of his, I'd say, notoriety, all of his fame, and his superstardom is trending up, right? It's a big arrow up. He hasn't played well in those conference finals, and so they're banking on him to be a top 5 superstar in this league. And until he makes it there, and he's not there yet, in my opinion, and maybe we can get Zach's thoughts on that at a separate time. But until Ant-Man is a bona fide top 5 player in this league every single game, I don't think they're good enough to win. So that's my kind of summary of the team.
so they're in a situation where in the NBA, one of the ways to build a championship team is to have the guy and build a great team around him. they have the guy and they have done that, but the guy isn't enough of the guy just yet, even though we all agree he is more likely than not going to be that guy. And I think more likely than not is understating it, right? But uh he's gonna be that guy. I just think, right? I think that's fair to say. That said, because of how they're constructed, if he's not that guy every game, it doesn't matter how good the depth is. It's too many shots being taken in a bad way. It's is it
They
the process? Because like the
they
coaching's good there,
no,
right?
no,
Finch and
yeah,
Nori,
I think the coaching is great. They have to upgrade the Conley position. I mean, that's the most, in my opinion, like the
it's a
most
lot of
dire
pressure
need.
on
Yeah.
Dillingham.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And honestly, if you don't have that like superstar type speed on the point guard position, that's why so much onus is put on Ant-Man because he has to shoulder that, quick guard, but also play elite defense. And it's just hard for a superstar. He's great and he's still young, he's still developing, but there's top five players. There's only five players in the top five for a reason, right? And
It's
so
also worth noting that he had to like carry their 3-point volume. I think like
and and
Rob
and
could
we don't
address
we don't
that.
want to see that, right?
Rob will
Even
fire him off, man.
yeah,
Rob,
that's funny.
Rob,
I mean,
he's
Ant-Man
gonna
had the
take
most
him.
three-point made, right? And I think also three-point attempts, obviously, but we don't want to see that out of him. Like he's a great shooter and he can do that, but we want him to be attacking the hoop and we want him to average 8 to 10 free throws a game. That's what we want.
Very, very well said. What kind of piece should this team look for, and why is it not Laurie Markkinen?
What a funny question. To me, it's the Conley piece. I think they need a point guard. So unless they get a point guard, and the cool thing about Anthony Edwards is like he defers a lot to Conley, for better or for worse, right? He looks at him, puts him on this pedestal because he's the veteran and all that. But like they just need to improve that piece. And if they can get, a somewhat star at point guard, I think the rest of the players are going to play a lot better. Like you mentioned, man, this is a really good team. Back to back conference finals.
Somewhat star at point guard. Who can fill that role, man? Who I'm trying to come up with some names quick. Teams, right? We talked about teams that should be selling, that should be trading away their talent. What of those teams? Like who's got some who's got some stud guards?
Man,
Uh
that's tough. Yeah.
like
Is
salary cap is a huge thing too. Who can they actually afford to bring in? Is a Randall sign and trade? Oh no, he got the extension. Is a Randall trade the solution? Is trading Randall for a guard the solution? What guard can you get? This opens up discussion.
Yeah, if you're moving Randall, then your options are going to be, much wider. But I would say I personally would not move Randall. I was very impressed with his, playoff performances against the Lakers in that first round. I think he's a good piece. I think he's a good number two for that team. They just, I don't know. Maybe there's someone in New Orleans. New Orleans has a bunch of guards.
DeJounte Murray.
There you go.
I don't think you trade Randall for DeJounte Murray.
Would you go for someone like Jaden Ivey? Because I don't think he fits in Detroit.
That's a really interesting name. That reminds me a bit of the Dillingham investment. Like you're
Mhm.
projecting a lot, but Ivy does fit exactly what I mean. Darius Garland is the name. All right.
Mm,
That's the name I was looking for. That's I had to look up a list of top guards in the NBA to remember the
Garland.
name. Garland is who I was thinking of because of the 3-point volume. Is
Yeah.
the thing that stands out to me.
Garland would open up the floor so much for Ant-Man too.
Randall for Garland, but then they need to move Allen.
I love how every time Kris and I talk, it just becomes a trade
Who
scenario,
should
hypothetical.
well, we are talking about these teams and what they might want to acquire. So I'm not gonna blame us too much today. Fred Van Vliet would would be great as well in Minnesota with Anthony. He could be that new Mike Conley,
Yeah.
but the cap. So maybe got to give it a year for him to sign that next deal, and they should go hard after Fred Van Vliet.
Did they go hard after De'Aaron Fox? Is Fox Ant-Man a weird backcourt
Yes,
combo?
yes,
Yeah,
it's too weird.
yeah, I
It's
agree.
too many shots. It's too weird. Okay, so T-Wolves, go get feisty. We're gonna stay in the West. Al, I like the energy we got right now, so I'm gonna throw a curveball and bring up a team that you need to defend a take from last episode on the Phoenix Suns. You
Mm,
claim to be in on them almost because there's no reason to be in on them. I found myself agreeing with you. I found myself convinced that Jalen Green in a bottle can be what he needs to be. I find myself concerned for the 19th straight year of Devin Booker's career that the role he needs to play does not come close to the role that he is best in.
mm.
Maybe this is just his thing at this point. Maybe he's just getting the toughest battles because he's the toughest soldier. I don't know what the hell he did to Phoenix ownership. I guess it's that he's so good, right? That they're like, just put him in any situation. He'll figure it out. Like they got him Chris Paul, and it was like
He made the finals.
they rediscovered fire.
Yeah.
Like, and then they got him Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, learned absolutely nothing from the fact that Chris Paul was the kind of player that they got to the finals with, traded all their depth for another scorer and another scorer.
That's
And,
Ishbia, right? That's Ishbia
they
going
were
in and finding the
surprised that they
splash.
were bad.
Yeah, I would say
Well, it's on us for thinking they were going to be good, right? It's on us.
I would
It's
also
on us.
say,
It's
like,
that's what he said. That's what Ishbia said. He said it's on the media. He said
yeah.
the media thinks we're going to be bad. That's good because they thought we were going to be good and we were bad.
So
What?
I would say this, like, basketball analysts feel sorry for Devin Booker, and I would say don't be too fast and feel sorry for him because I think he's gonna end up making like $1 billion. He's gonna be the player for Phoenix, like the face of the franchise through all of this, and I think that's comfortable for him. Like if he really wanted to win and move, I think he could, you know, make some trade requests and trade demands and have a list of teams and move if he really, really, really wanted to win. I think he's comfortable there in the West
It could
Coast.
still happen. Things change, right? Maybe
It
as he
can definitely
approaches
still happen.
30,
I think the pressure is low there in Phoenix, so, like, if he plays well, everybody loves him. If he doesn't play well, then, oh, it's the ownership. It's because they can't construct a team.
well, objectively, the ownership has been bad, and Booker literally helped carry that team out of the doldrums. So I would contend that he deserves that kind of invisible force field of for criticism in a sense.
He does from that perspective, but he shouldn't get the force field that champions get. And right now, I
Right.
think Devin is getting that shield. And
I get it.
I like how you put that. But I'd say, yeah, so what I said in the previous podcast is it's obviously very contrarian, right? Everybody's low on Phoenix and justifiably so. But if you give me a team with Devin Booker and Dylan Brooks, who I think is super underrated just because he's so hated, but I think Dylan Brooks is a solid NBA player and a solid off guard to someone like Devin Booker. They're going to be a team. Obviously, there's no front court depth. I can't even tell you who their center is. Is it Nick Richards? I'm assuming Nick Richards starting
So
center.
they have Kaman Maluach from Duke, as well as Nick Richards, and they also traded for why the Hornets center Mark Williams. They also traded for Mark Williams. So they have Mark Williams, Kaman Maluach, and Nick Richards, who they traded for last season. Richards really, like, what they needed was a defensive anchor last season, and they traded for an offensive center. It was a tough fit.
I'm still pretty high on guys like Royce O'Neal and Ryan Dunn, like those type of players. They could be winning players on.
This is the formula of back to Booker and role players.
Yeah.
Booker and a super squad of role players, and let's see what he can cook up. I kind of love it. This is like being like Aaron Judge needs to be the guy in his lineup because when like he does well when there's other good players, but he has elite seasons when he's like the only good player. So
So he's a sneaky pick for like first team All NBA or some MVP conversations, just because he's going to have
Booker,
so much of the numbers.
the
Obviously, he won't
MVP.
have the win total as a team, so he can't get that.
So it's the he's not going to have, it would have to be the Westbrook style MVP case.
Mm,
He's not going to have it, one, because of
enough wins. Yeah.
wins, but even that Thunder team, they weren't top of the
They
Western
were
Conference.
6. I think they were 6.
Yeah, the correct. They were. But the other part of it is people felt bad for Russell Westbrook, even though
It's a
Durant was there.
combination, right?
Durant
Combination
was there
things.
for
Yeah.
9 years,
Yeah.
and they didn't win in part because of Durant.
Yeah.
But they went out so bad. He left after 9 years. It's not like he left after his rookie deal, took the qualifying offer and spurred them, or like
Yeah.
he left after 9 years, and everyone felt bad for Westbrook. There were sad edits. Like
And
no
although
one
he
feels
was
bad for Booker for getting Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and although Russ was stat padding, averaging a triple double was still very impressive, right? Even it was just an energy thing, and there was no one that played as much with as much energy as Russ. But I don't think that the Suns are even going to sniff close to a 6 seed, so I wouldn't be worried about a true MVP candidate. I'm just saying, like, he's going to have the numbers, right? He might have a 30, I don't know, 5-5 type of
30,
season.
yeah. I love that. 35-6 or something, like 35-6, something like that. So Suns, we have them in the buy category because I feel like they, drafting Malawash, trading for Mark Williams, like they kind of did try and round out the edges of this team and get themselves in a position where they can win ball games. So this is what they're trying to do. They want to keep Devin Booker around and happy. Cool. We get it. We're bought into it. Go get feisty, and don't be afraid to pull the trigger on a little trade here and there that could help make your team a little bit better. I feel the same way about this next team. I want to go to the Portland Trailblazers, man, before we go back out east, because Damian Lillard is back on the Portland Trailblazers. That's bizarre. It's unreal. And then they also got Drew Holiday back who, after his non-existent tenure there, that won the Boston Celtics a championship, because what team? Milwaukee just didn't want to. Whatever, man. Thanks, Bucks. That said, the Blazers were young and hungry and fun and feisty and actually decent last year. Chauncey
Especially
Billups,
the second half of the year.
yes. It wasn't like they came out hot and faded. It was the better version, which is they started out slow and then through some tough coaching from Chauncey Billups, locked in defensively, started playing like a decent team. They add Drew Holiday to the equation, who does not give them an off the dribble creator. It gives them an A+ decision maker. It gives them another plus defender. It gives them another plus strength player, a guy with good positional strength and size. And then Dame is going to do his rehab there. Chauncey Billups says he's going to be the most expensive assistant coach of all time. He's going to give him a clipboard and he's going to put him to work. He doesn't want him sulking. He doesn't want him not making the young guys better. So he said he's going to get Dame to work. Dame seems to be game. I love it. How good is this Portland team going to be? What do they look to add, man? We don't need to name names, even though I'm going to do it anyway. But what kind of pieces should they look to add? Or is this really about seeing our Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe the pieces?
Yeah, that's a good question. But I mean, if you're gonna go for Drew and then keep guys like Jeremy Grant, right? It means that they're trying to make the playoffs. So I think for those reasons, they should be buyers. I think they have to make a consolidation move. I think there's too many young players if they want to make the playoffs, because young teams don't win, right? I mean, we all know that. I mean, the Thunder was the youngest team to ever win, and a lot of those guys have several years of NBA experience. So I don't know what the move is. That's where I would defer to you, Kris. But I think they are definitely in buy mode, and I think the fans actually have something to look forward to, because you're right. The second half of that season, and I was one of those guys that thought Chauncey is a really bad coach, but the second half of that season won me over, and they started playing for him, started playing really good defense. And there were moments where Scoot showed flashes that he could be, a starting point guard in this league. But we definitely, as an owner and as a fan base and as a GM of Portland, I want to know this year if Scoot is my guy moving forward. I have to find that out. So whether that's making in the playoffs or not, I need to put the onus on Scoot to make those really tough basketball decisions on the court. Is he my
This is
guy?
year 3. He's going into year 3. Are we doing Scoot a disservice by telling him be a max guy or else?
Not
Like,
as the number 2 pick.
so that's the thing is he's in the league now. I think you have to throw that out the window. That's for the GM. That's for the owner. That's for those people to worry about, right? From a coaching perspective, all you want from Scoot this year is be a positive presence on the court, push the pace. Don't turn the ball over a million times. Make your open threes. You don't have to make a million threes. Just hit the open ones. If you're going to drive in transition, you can pull up for your middies that you love, but hit them. Just make the open ones. It's what DeJounte Murray got stuck at. That's the hump that I think DeJounte Murray, in his perceived ascent to stardom, I think he got stuck at that. Hit the open threes, he has games where he's like an 8 of 8 from downtown, right? But there's too many 1 of 6 games. And I think that's what is most important with Scoot Henderson is getting him in the mindset of if I go 1 for 3 from 3-point land, that is fine. That is fine. I just need to be 6 of 10
Yeah,
on my
so
2-pointers.
you're speaking from the perspective of a very seasoned fan of the game, student of the game, and historically, you just want whether he's the number 1 pick or
Draw
the 20th
fouls.
pick,
Get to the line.
you just want incremental improvements every year. But it's hard to deal with that perception because he's still the number 2 pick. He was the same draft class as Wemby. It's gonna be hard for you to sell the fan base that I just want Scoot to be a 25-minute player a game, right?
I get it, but I think they're pleased enough with the overachievement by the rest of the roster. Like, I would contend that the fans are going to be completely fine if Scoot is a
I
real
disagree there, man.
positive piece, not the government mandated 20 minutes a game because he
Yeah,
was a high pick. Like,
maybe
oh,
you're right. I think where I come in is if 11 of the other guys play well, they finish like 8th or 9th seed, and the reason why they're not a 5th seed is because of Scoot not developing.
that's all valid. Like
Yeah,
I'm not disagreeing with any of that. Like if this is what I'm saying. If it feels like it's the government mandated 20 minutes a game because he was a high pick, then that sucks. And
yeah,
that brings down the mood in the locker room. That makes Scoot play worse. Obi Toppin's rookie year, like Tom Thibodeau would not have played him if he didn't have to play him 10 minutes a game.
yeah.
There would be games where Obi Toppin would log like 10 minutes and 8 seconds. Like as soon as that 10-minute mark got reached, plucked. And like the Looney Tunes with the cane, like just a yoink. And that's like that can't be what's happening. I don't think that's going to be what happens.
But
I think Scoot's
they're building.
athleticism translating to good defense, especially under Chauncey Billups, is an underrated development aspect for him or a development lane for him.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I think that the defensive development is something that we don't talk about enough. And when I say we, is like all fans of the game. Like we don't talk about defensive development a lot. But I would say this: the way that they're building their team, they're expecting Denny to score like 20, 22 points, right? To have enough offense on this team. I don't know. I feel like they need one more score, like one consolidation move to bring in a score, like
Norm
a
Powell.
Green. Norm Powell, Jalen Green, one of those guys.
I think Green, neither one of those guys works when I actually think about it because you want someone who fits their defensive ethos.
Yeah.
If they're gonna flip Jeremy Grant, for example, if someone wants that contract, I think he was like 4th worst 2-point percentage in the NBA last season or something like that. Like, he's kind of been like, it feels like because of the statistics, you have to be like, there's no way he's been locked in. Something's off. It might just be spacing, right? I don't want to say it's all Jeremy Grant's fault and he can't make a layup. That's not at all what I'm saying. I think he's a talented player, which is why I think it's fair to point out that he really struggled on 2-point shots last season. As a big 6'8" wing, that shouldn't be a thing. What can they do to make more of that situation? I think trading Anthony Simons was a good move. We talked about this a lot. The Utah Jazz, Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson, the Portland Trailblazers, Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant. Hey, you're not trying to be a good team, are really good. So why are you keeping these veterans that are clogging the lanes for young guys? Well, the Blazers decided they are trying to be good. So they kept Grant and they moved Simons and upgraded on Simons to Drew Holiday because the Celtics were in a cap constraint. Also, on top of that, the Jazz stink and still stink, so they just let both guys walk for damn near nothing because what the hell. Anyway, the Blazers, man, yeah, a scorer. Hey, Phoenix doesn't want to give him up, right? But a Dylan Brooks type player would be so good
Yeah.
for Portland. Of course, anyone. It would be so good for anyone. Should Portland be the kind of team that looks at, and I guess this is tough, but like my crazy thought for Portland going into the season is, what exactly are you trying to build going forward? Should you be pestering and harassing and laying the foundation with a team like the Toronto Raptors if they ever choose to move off Scotty Barnes? Like, is that a guy who you could say, oh, let's take Dame and Denny and draft picks? And I don't know. I'm getting crazy for the sake of it, but let's move on to a
I
team.
would say
Oh, go for it.
there's also tiers to what buying means, right? When people say, this team should be a buyer this season or at the deadline or in the offseason, it doesn't mean that they need to be buying for a championship, right? Every team is at a different part of their development cycle. And so this team, in our opinion, they're buying to be a postseason team. And so I do think they're one move away. I mean, if they continue to improve like they improved at the end of last season, they're going to be in that play-in tournament, level type team anyways. But if they make one more move, whether that's DeJounte Murray, like we mentioned, I think, or Scotty Barnes, I think that's a move that will for sure get them in the postseason. They're basically a year away from the Magic. So
Yeah, well,
they
so
get
so
to that where Orlando is this year.
it's like Dame is going to be interesting because what are they going to get from him coming off of that injury? That's why he's getting like 13 million a year from them, right? Is I think the rate he signed for. It's a good deal for both sides, but it also for Portland, it's a lot of they've got to make the most out of that situation. Um, they've got to make the most out of that situation and not waste time because of the question of how many years does he have left in the NBA? Just the nature of a small guard who carried the brunt of a Terry Stotts offense for like 8 years. We just saw Kemba Walker and a lot of other small guards that with long successful careers have to call it early. And Dame is not literally on the team, but he's an absolute warrior. And he's been through a lot and he is going to power back from this injury. I have no doubt about it. What exactly is he going to be when he gets back? How good is he going to be? Is it best for everyone involved if at that point he's not what holds them back and they consolidate him and someone else into an upgrade or a younger piece or something of the sort, right? Like,
Yeah, the pessimist side of me sees Dame Lillard, who was a superstar in his prime. I think people are gonna remember Dame by the last couple years of, when he returns from injury. And I don't think it's gonna be pretty, to be honest. I
he's
don't
going to
think
be 36,
Yeah, he's
right?
gonna be old. He's not gonna be explosive. He's gonna settle for a lot of step back threes, which when he makes them, it's super
He's gonna
exciting to
he's
watch.
gonna make them.
Yeah, but um it's gonna, in my opinion, this is the pessimist again. It's gonna belittle what his career was prior to the move to
That's okay.
Milwaukee.
That's
Yeah,
okay. You gotta just people are gonna think what they're gonna think. He values what he values. That's that. And good for him, right? So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I don't want to just run through a million scenarios of what could happen for Portland this year. I guess my thought overall with them is mostly like uh Scoot and Shaden, show us what you've got. Don't be afraid. Let's see it. And don't feel too much pressure to be superstars, but gotta defend, gotta rebound, gotta take care of the little things so you can play big time minutes and show what you've got. This is an intriguing team. This is a team that pulled themselves out of the fire and caught fire themselves at the end of last season for more than just a couple weeks. This was not a
Yeah.
flash in the pan. It felt real. They affirmed it as real when they made the moves they did this offseason. So,
True.
what do you got? Let's see it. There's one more team I want to talk about, and that will after this team, it will bring an end to this episode. The first half of teams that should buy or that we think are on the up and up going into the 2026 NBA season. This is a team that I think I've seen several people on Twitter, and I don't mean like random like Icy Trey 11 season accounts. I mean like actual respected basketball minds online and people that contribute to discourse. And the Atlanta Hawks are contenders to some people. I don't have them there just yet. I think there are some questions with the depth that enable me to say if they're going to contend, they've got to be a little more injury proof. Particularly, Kristaps Porzingis is a huge ad for them, but I do have them really easily in this middle buy category that we set up, and the reason is because I do think they are just one or two moves away, potentially zero, from being clearly the third best team in the Eastern Conference.
Wow, third best.
Better?
I mean, Kristaps is a big question mark, and he's been a question mark for his entire career.
What center besides Vit Krejci, who is a good player, has Trey ever had that can shoot?
Yeah, I agree with you there, and they have the makings of a really good team, like you mentioned. Maybe 3 is right. Maybe
And Vit is like a 6'8" big guard who like
yeah.
plays small ball
He should
five.
be
Like he's not
he should
even
be a
like a
stretch 4. He should be a
yeah,
stretch
yeah.
4.
So like he's a good player. Like Nikola Jovic, I feel like there's some similarities there, not just both
But
European
adding
players, but
Terrence
anyway.
Mann, they still have Dyson Daniels, obviously, Risa Share, Levert. Like this is a really good
Year
team.
two, Zach, man.
And if we're talking about, because their coaching staff is very respected. Like their coaching staff, in my opinion, never gets blamed. Maybe I'm not part of those conversations, but I would
I'm
say
sure
that
there are spaces on Hawks Twitter. I know Hawks fan TV is definitely hosts some spaces where fans probably hate
they're
the
just
coach
killing
and
them. But
hate everyone, but that's how fans are.
this to me, this is like the prove it year for me. Not only for the coaching staff, but someone like Trey. So
That's as a superstar or
yeah,
as
as
an
a
all-star.
superstar. As a superstar, because I think we've already seen he's an all-star, right? When he plays,
There are a lot of people that think his stats come in a way that are not conducive to
and I've heard that discourse as well. But
deep playoff wins, which like I don't know what the Hawks. I can agree to an extent because the games have to mean something, the results have to mean something, but the Hawks front office,
they have to make the second round this year, right? Whether whatever seed they finish with in the
they're a
regular
fun
season,
first round upset
they have
team.
to be a second round team.
They have to
The
live
bare
up to it.
minimum. Yeah.
They have to live up to being, oh, they're going to be a fun team that you don't want to see in the first
Yeah.
round. Like they've got to send someone home. It doesn't have to be Cleveland. It can be Detroit. It can be who might sneak in from the Eastern. Like if they get Orlando in the first round and beat Orlando, they can lose. They can get swept in the second round. I don't care.
Yeah.
That is a huge accomplishment. Obviously they'll want much more at that point, which is deserved and expected. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like Ansi Salah, ever since getting hired months ago, has been nails as the GM of this team. I think Asen Newell,
I agree with you.
a fun ad for them, someone who I think could be a good piece, a Chris Boucher type piece on the Raptors, for this Hawks team. And maybe as soon as the end of his first year or his second year, because he's got that experience. I will say they do need, I think, an upgrade on the Levert spot. The depth.
Who do you think is the starting 5? Let's start there.
Do you start a Kongwu and Porzingis and just have Porzingis stay outside the 3-point line and not get hurt?
I probably would not start the 2. I'd be a little more defensive minded, but that's me. Like
I would start Porzingis, but I don't like. Do you want to set the precedent that he starts when he's healthy and then when he ends up missing some time, then you're flip-flopping lineups, or do you just hope that
that's actually
hope
a
that he's
really
healthy? Do you
That's
hope that he's
actually a
healthy and
really,
just
really
start
good
him?
question. That's a very good question because that's gonna affect how other people feel, right? Because if he's a for sure starter right off the bat, just because he's, a 7'5" shooter, but
Well, he's got championship experience at this point too. Like he's a really big piece on a championship team in a way that he needs to be a big piece in Atlanta. So I would understand it. I think you do. I guess if I were the Hawks, I would side on we've got to operate as if he's going to go for all 82
yeah,
unless the games that we rest him.
I agree with you.
The spacing he will bring, right? They have starters that like Trey Young, Nikhil Alexander Walker, big add in free agency, Jalen Johnson, up and coming, but some people would say rising star,
Yeah,
right? Some
and
people would
I'm one
say
of those people. I'm
soon
one
to
of
be all-star.
Yep.
So if I'm the Hawks, I'm looking at Trey, Nikhil, Dyson, Jalen, and Porzingis, maybe Ricochet in for Daniels. Maybe. But I'd let Zach have that offensive freedom on the bench. I would play Trey, Nikhil, Dyson, Jalen, and Porzingis, and have Levert and Ricochet and Nance and Okongwu
I think
bring up
I
the
think I would
rear.
rather have Nikhil in that six-man role as opposed to Zach.
So then you start Trey, Dyson, Zach, Jalen, Porzingis,
Yeah,
and Nikhil's your super sixth man.
yeah.
I like that too. Actually, you
I
could
mean, that was his role in Minnesota, and I think he plays it really well.
they paid him like they paid him enough where he's not going to care if he's.
Because
I
he's still
wouldn't
gonna
think
play like 28 to 32 minutes as a
I
six
I
man.
wouldn't think he would care if he's the
Yeah,
super sixth
but
man.
that's a really deep team. That's a really deep team.
So my thing is then Kennard they added two, right? Ugh, they yeah, they did add Luke Kennard. I guess
That's a
that Kennard spot, the Levert Kennard spots are where I guess if I'm them, I'm wondering.
but that's your 8th and ninth best player. It's hard to, like, again,
Right,
you're
but as
being
soon as Porzingis gets hurt, then it's your seventh and eighth, and then if one more, and then if Dyson
you
misses
used to
some
have
time,
Okongwu, you used to have Larry Nance.
Nance.
Yeah. They're pretty protected if
Nah,
Porzingis gets hurt. Obviously, if
they
he
have a
ends up
good
playing
roster.
yeah, if he ends up playing 60 to 70 games and he plays like we know Kristaps can play, this is for sure a top 4 team. If he
Yes,
doesn't
but it's tough for me because if we're assuming Kristaps is going to miss some time, it takes one or two other play. Like think about what happened to the Knicks, not this past season, but the year before. And obviously that's an outlier. You can't never drive a car because you might get into an accident. That
yeah,
said, you can't go 80 miles an hour on streets because you can't just live your life scared of every risk. No, some risks are worth being scared of, man. I
but
think
they have a team outside of Kristaps that's good enough to win any night, right? They have a team good enough to win every single night
but
without
if someone goes down and Levert becomes this, or then you have to move Nikhil Alexander Walker into the starting lineup.
yeah,
Levert's your sixth man, and now you're really counting on guys like Krejci or Kobe Buffkin, who I don't know are there yet. Or Krejci, I guess, is someone who like he sticks in the NBA and he's a resilient guy
yeah.
because he knows what it takes to stick in the NBA and he's a hard worker. He's a favorite niche role player of mine, I guess, if that's not obvious. Just a good
I
watch.
mean, a
Um,
45% three-point shooter with that
no,
size,
exactly, man.
yeah,
Like
he's gonna stay in the NBA.
he's
He's a
awesome.
solid
He's
piece.
awesome. I like him a lot. But that said, this is a Vic Krejci podcast. But that said, I fear that they could use like a Tyus Jones. So like Malcolm Brogdon's out there right now. Again, another injury prone player, unfortunately, because I like his game a lot too. But like I think there are other additions they should look to be making to just hold things up, to eat innings in case of emergency, in case of injury. But I really like what they've got. And Trey, Nikhil, Dyson, Ricochet, Jalen Johnson, that's a core that you can really look at and be like, this is us for the next couple seasons.
And taking a step back even further, like, they kinda treaded water for the last couple seasons, some certain moves didn't work out, DeJounte, things like that, but they timed it to the point where they're basically going all in at the right time in the East, right? because you really just have to deal with New York and
That's why I said top 3.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's gonna be a really good team if they're healthy, but that's every team. If I'm not saying every team, but every great team will require health, and this is no different.
I'm excited to see how good they can be. I think they're my pick for the 3rd seed in the East. I think Milwaukee. Miles Turner is going to be so good for them. Giannis and Miles Turner are going to crush. It all comes down to is Giannis, and obviously, if it's not clear, the Bucks are one of the few teams we have left because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 12 teams left to discuss. 6 will come in the second half of this buyer segment. It'll be part 2 of 3. And then part 3 of 3 will be, or I guess the 4th of 3 parts will be the contenders. The Bucks will be in one of those 2 segments, duh. So get ready for that. But yeah, so Atlanta top 4. That will be Atlanta top 4. I'm locking in. I think they can win more games than Orlando in the regular season. I think Orlando might have some growing pains that will be good for them long term.
Yep.
I think Atlanta Trey might just be so elated with the quality of his roster. They might just hit the ground running. They might
Yeah,
just
from a regular season standpoint, that team might win, 55 games.
that I wasn't going to go that high. You said it, not me.
Yep.
I was going to say 50 though, because they are. This is as good as feisty gets.
Yeah.
Right. I always talk about how whenever someone's talking about an NBA team, they're like, oh, they're gritty, they're feisty. Like the worst kept secret is that team also sucks. But I think this Hawks team is going to be feisty in a we're really good at basketball and we know it way, not in a we try hard, so please give us partial credit on our losses way. With that said, man, I'm so positive and just a light in this world of darkness. I'm so not cynical. This is awesome. Great stuff, KP. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We have several more NBA teams to talk about, the Milwaukee Bucks being one of them, some other big names. I know we have not talked about the Golden State Warriors. We have not talked about the New York Knicks. We have not talked about the Denver Nuggets. We have not talked about the Clippers or the Spurs. Do we think these teams are contenders or a move or two away? You will find out over the next few episodes in this series right here on All Things NBA from A to Z, presented as always by ballislife.com. Shout out to Ball is Life for the sweet t-shirt. Zach Noble, our 3rd co-host, will join us soon. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe or hit the thumbs up or leave a 5-star rating on the show. And just you don't have to write a whole paragraph. Just be like, great show, if you think it's a great show. Anyway, thanks. Talk soon. Enjoy your week, everybody. We'll see you.